I don't remember in what context he originally said this to me, but I remember distinctly Eric telling me at some point that no one was irreplaceable. I don't even remember if it was before or after learning of his illness, but he wasn't talking about himself. His point was that we have to be constantly building leadership in ourselves and in others so we can carry on the struggles, even though not everyone we began them with would still be around. I wasn't quite sure I believed him at that point, but the idea seemed important and it stuck with me. In many different contexts, Eric was always teaching and leading by example. He brought a special touch, a special intelligence, a special perspective to everything he did. Although we had first met in the mid-90s when we were both doing Mexico Solidarity work with Fernando, we didn't get to know each other well until I started working at Mission Housing and organizing with the Mission Anti-Displacement Coalition in 2001. There was so much frustration in the neighborhood and a sense of powerlessness as the community faced massive displacement. But Eric had a remarkable ability to transform this anger into effective strategies that targeted the city's policies. He did not do this alone. As Director of Resident Programs at Mission Housing, he spearheaded MITA, the Mission Resident Advocates Program, educating residents about the economic forces and city policies behind what was happening and what we could do together to change them. In this way, he used his special touch to create leaders, not only among community members, but also among staff. And these leaders, and many others of us who are a part of MAC at that time, are still fighting and will continue to fight for a city that belongs to all of us, not just those with easy access to power and resources. Eric also brought his special perspective, his intense commitment to movement building, and his social justice lens to his campaign for supervisor. As a candidate for political office, one necessarily has to take leadership, but Eric always made it clear that he was not in it for himself. Instead of referring to it as my campaign, he talked about it as our campaign, and constantly reiterated his commitment to including everyone who stood for what we believed in. We invited participation from community members even if they were too young or didn't have the documents required to vote. Eric's campaign was about representing the whole of District 9, and although we were not victorious on Election Day, we all gained so much from having been a part of it. Our connections to each other were deeper, we made new friends, and many of us are still working together in political and community struggles that continue what Eric Quesada's campaign was fighting for. A couple of years before he ran for office, Eric was hired as the executive director of Dolores Street Community Services. At that time, the agency was struggling financially and was down to a bare-bones staff. He hired me about 4 months after he started, and together with the rest of the staff under his leadership, we began to stabilize and then grow and transform the organization. The model we developed is one of social service and social change, and under this vision, Eric accomplished so much, including successfully advocating and working for the rehabilitation of the Dolores Hotel, which will house 52 formerly homeless community members, the first of whom start moving in the day after tomorrow. Eric was able to tour the building with Lorena before they left for Germany in July, and he was so proud of it. One of his last great and lasting accomplishments. The last arena in which Eric brought his special strength and determination was to his battle with cancer. The first year he was diagnosed in 2004 was hard. He underwent multiple surgeries, chemo, and radiation, and was not able to work. But after that, beginning in 2005, he regained his strength and his optimism. He was going to fight the cancer and also continue to fight for the social change that he believed in. In the subsequent 6 years, he had to get many more surgeries and would be out for weeks or sometimes months at a time. But he was so resilient and had such focus on what he was fighting for that many people he worked with in the movement did not even realize he was sick. He was so determined to continue his struggle, and he did so with love and with grace, literally to the very end. It has been a great privilege to have had Eric Quesada as part of my life for the past 16 years, and I know that I carry within me so much of what he taught me, as so many of us do. While I now understand better his theory that no one is irreplaceable, in the sense that his work for justice will live on in so many of us, I still cannot agree that he is replaceable. There will never be another Eric Quesada, and he, this man, my friend, my coworker, my co-conspirator, will be deeply, deeply missed. Thank you.